FCP Live, and we're going to be talking about the iPhone 13 Pro, the Pro version more than anything else. Couple minutes. I have to do a countdown first, and I have to get some other people notified that we are actually going to be live, but we'll be back. We'll be back. Give me 3 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that. All right. And here we are live. Once again, we were here yesterday. FCP TV Live. Today, we're going to talk about two things. Number one, NAB has been canceled. We've been talking about that for over a month on these shows, FCP TV Live. We've been talking about it for 2 months. I've been talking about it for a month. I've been talking about it on FCP Radio, on the podcast. I had an article out. Let's see the article real quick. So the article I had out was just out last Sunday, I think. And I said, NAB 2021, nope. That was last Sunday, September the 12th. I published this article. And on Sunday, even though it was still scheduled at this point, as we've been discussing for over a month, I don't see how NAB 2021 survives. Well, either has NAB. To our NAB show community for more than a decade, blah, 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 we are disappointed that we will not be together again in person next month. We look forward to converging in Las Vegas on the 2022, April 20th, 2022, to reignite our passion. So, as we've been talking about for over a month, NAB is officially canceled. NAB canceled. Not a surprise, especially if you've been tuning into these FCP TV Lives, the Final Cut Pro TV Live broadcasts. David Mathis says, not surprised, not at all. Let me just check on one thing. I'm a one-man operation here. I don't have people and stage hands and all that stuff, so I just keep going. I enjoy it. As long as I enjoy it, I'll keep doing it. NAB has been canceled. What do you think about that? Nobody's really surprised, I don't think, but they've been going along. Sony canceled this week. Panasonic canceled this week. Ross Video, I don't know who they are, but they always have a big presence at NAB. They canceled this week. Blackmagic Design canceled. They had canceled as well. Everybody had canceled, one person after the other, cancel. So, not a surprise, not to me. Like I said, we've been talking about it for a while. Eric Emmerich says they did the right thing regardless of who didn't show up. Yeah, well, it's obviously NAB is a financial consideration for everybody, both the attendees, the people that have their booths there. It's consideration for them. NAB itself has to make money. The convention center has to make money. Everybody's got to make money. So, unfortunately, things are not conducive for big conventions right now. Now, listen, it's one thing. This is not as bad as it was last year. Last year, at this point, we were in a lot worse shape. The state of Maryland, for example, we had a state of emergency. That expired July the 1st and has not been reinstated. Of course, we're one of the best states in the United States with any kind of problem, so I'm glad that our governor has taken pretty aggressive steps about that. So nobody's really surprised. I don't know if anybody was even going. I had reservations. I still have them. I'm going to cancel them, obviously. Both the the hotel reservation and the airline. I'll be canceling both of those this week, especially since there's not going to be any NAB. Anybody surprised? I'm not. I don't think anybody else is. So let's talk about Let's talk about what happened with Apple yesterday. How many are excited about that? Oops, wrong side. There it is over here on this side. iPhone 13. Not a surprise. Everything was kind of predicted, wasn't it? I think it was. Everything was predicted. I know the ProRes, there had been discussions about things happening with ProRes, but just put that up there. There we go. But it wasn't really a surprise, was it? I don't think anything. There's a couple of things. Well, there's a lot of things I want to talk about specifically. So one of the things I want to talk about, let's go to graphics first. So one of the things I want to talk about is this. I have ordered mine already. Ready for pre-order. Come back on 9/17 to check out. So that's 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. I will be back. Let me go over there and look at that real quick. Pull that up. Just going to pull this up. So, what did I order? I'm going to show you live what I ordered. View pricing. Let's see what it does. Choose your model. Okay, the first thing is, do I want to get a 13 Pro or do I want to get a 13 Pro Max? 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max. 13 Pro Max. Which color did I get? Sierra blue, silver, gold, graphite. I always usually get the dark. Now here's one of the things that are interesting here. Storage. So if you get 128, you are limited to ProRes. If you record in ProRes, it's not here yet. When it arrives later this fall, you can only do 1080p if you get the 120 gigabyte version. Don't get that version. It's not enough. 256 minimum, 512. This is what I got. 1 terabyte. We don't have to worry about, do you have a smartphone to trade in? Yes, I do. Select the model. iPhone Pro Max. Is the iPhone in good condition? Yes, of course it is. So this is what it ends up being if I put it on Apple monthly card. Well, actually, interesting. Where is the... I'm just going to press this and I get Apple Care with theft and loss. And this is what it ends up being, $44.90 for 24 months. However, $24.90 for 24 months, $44.90 for 24 months. This time next year, I'll be trading my 13 in, very likely, for a 14 Pro Max. So I won't be paying $44.90 for 24 months. I'll be paying it for 12 months, and then I'll pay it off, trade it in, all that stuff. I switched over to the yearly update plan, which is what I had prior. And I switched over to the Apple, just directly to the Apple Pay, because the yearly update plan, you go through a third party, and then you pay with your Apple Card. It's 2 steps, and I tried to cancel it today. I tried to pay it off today. It was a pain in the butt, instead of just dealing with just Apple directly. So let's go over and watch a video. Here we go. Where's the videos? Here's the videos. So let's see the first one. So one of the first things that I noticed on the thing yesterday was those lenses seem like they're bigger. This is from the Apple presentation. They seem like they're bigger.
The new ultra-wide lens design and autofocus system enable incredibly sharp focus and can magnify subjects with a minimum distance of 2 centimeters. The new ultra-wide lens design.
So those lenses really bump out. They've got to be bigger lenses. I mean, they're physically bigger on the iPhone. I'm pretty sure that's the case. So this is what we were talking about earlier. So this is from August the 5th, 2021. Eric says no NAB. He says no NAB. That's what I'm thinking too. They haven't announced that it's canceled yet, but I think that's coming. So back on August the 5th, let's talk about NAB first. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to be scaled down? Do you think it's going to turn to virtual only? If it does, once again, I predict they're going to immediately announce NAB Spring 2022, which is exactly what they did. They've been talking about Spring 2022 instead of 2021. 2021, I mean, everybody canceled this week, so we've been talking about it for 5 weeks, 6 weeks. It's not a surprise to us. Let's get back to the iPhone 13. Rack focus in cinematic mode is nice, but it was not smooth in the keynote. It needs a good speed ramp option. So I've heard discussions. Is it rack focus? Is it aperture, changing the aperture? Is it depth mapping of the video file? Something is happening with the video file, because if you use cinematic mode, you can only do 1080p 30, right? That's what I'm pretty sure. Let's do this one. So if you do this, is that what's happening? Is it rack focusing on different parts of the image? Well, in order to do that, both the in focus and out of focus image would have to be available at all times, because you can do this in post. So you can touch on it. If you turn your head, it'll rack focus. Or is it aperture? I don't know. Is it just depth mapping for video? They're doing it 30 frames per second at 1080, which means it's more intensive, obviously, than just doing a 4K file, right? That makes sense. That makes complete sense. So I'm not sure. Is that what it is? I've heard that it's focusing. I've heard that it's aperture, changing the aperture, or is depth map? Don't know. But let's go look at the graphics once again. So this, for sure, focus, lens bump. These lenses are much bigger. They stick out more. The bump is bigger than my iPhone 12 Pro Max. I'm pretty darn sure. They look like they are, which, listen, that's fine. That's fine for me. I want beefier hardware. That's what I'd like to have. So I don't care about things sticking out a little bit more. I'd rather have the beefier hardware. So let's see. Camlink 4K. So that's that. Now, what else do we have here? Graphics. Well, first off, of course, we have our backyard. This is the Final Cut Pro Radio TV backyard. We're getting to the end of summer. This is going to be changing. All these leaves are going to be changing pretty soon. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. So the other things that they talked about. I found this thing very peculiar when they talked about this. Let me turn that one off. The iPhone doesn't require any ancillary pieces of equipment. Nonsense. Whoever said that, the filmmaker that said that, that is complete and utter nonsense. What about pro audio? You don't consider adding a microphone or recording separate audio ancillary equipment? Nobody is seriously recording with the iPhone with the built-in microphone. If you're doing a film or you're doing something high-end, you're going to have a separate source of audio, or you're going to have, in my case, I use the Rode SC6-L, which is an interface, plugs into the Lightning port, and I have two analog ports I can connect two analog devices to. Typically, I use a shotgun microphone, a Sennheiser MKE 600 for front-facing talent, so I can talk to the front talent. And on me, I have a Rode Wireless Go 2 mic under my shirt, typically. And then I have a second Rode Wireless Go mic front-facing. So if I wanted close-up audio, I can use that. If I want further shotgun mic audio, I can use that. But nobody's using audio out of the mic, out of the iPhone. I mean, I don't think so. So that is ridiculous to say the iPhone doesn't require any ancillary pieces of equipment. Of course it does. Audio, audio, audio. The other thing about audio is they showed this rack focusing, this depth mapping changing, this whatever it is, the bokeh effect, front person, back person, front person, back person. They only showed it on the native iPhone camera app. Okay? I don't know if third-party apps are going to have access to that, at least not initially. But the problem, I use the camera app all the time. And the reason is I can change to any of the three lenses while I'm recording. So I can zoom in, zoom back out even further to an ultra-wide shot while the camera is recording. It absolutely can be done, but nobody does it like the native camera app. I think there's one app that does it, but it takes like a couple of seconds to go from one to the other. Filmic Pro does not do it yet. I wish they would, because I'd use them more if they did. They do not. They do not have the ability to switch lenses while recording. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Problem with the native camera app: no audio controls, no audio VU meters. You can't monitor your audio, and you cannot adjust your audio with the native camera app. Apple, get on that. It's ridiculous that you don't have the ability to monitor VU meters on the camera app and adjust whatever audio source you have. Everybody knows audio is 50% of good video, but Apple is ignoring audio in the native camera app. We need VU meters, and we need a control, at least a slider to select what audio we're using. So get on that. All right, so let's do this. So here's a couple of the things that are going on with the iPhone. This is new. The iPhone Pro Max, which is what I'm going to be getting, the 13 Pro Max, up to 1,200 nits of brightness. My monitor that I'm using right now, my LG monitor, doesn't even have that. My one on my desktop. Up to 1,200 nits on the 12 Pro Max and up to 1,000 on the regular iPhone 13. So up to 2.5 hours more battery life is what they're talking about, right? So I've had lots of battery life with my iPhone 12 Pro Max. The 13 gets up to 2.5 more. They put a bigger battery in, or they optimized or whatever. So what else do we have? 20%, the notch has been reduced by 20%. So they're calling that 120 hertz display ProMotion. It adjusts down from 10 hertz up to 120 hertz depending on what you're doing. So that's certainly an interesting way of doing it. Let's see what else we got there. So we don't know about what's going on with the depth mapping / depth of field yet, do we? We do not. Graphics. Let's look at this for another second. So pre-ordering focus, lens bump. These are the 3 sizes that they have. One of the other things they talked about was macro, right? Macro filming. Pull that up ahead. So now you can do macro filming natively with the iPhone 13. I'm not sure if that goes back to I'm getting the Pro Max, so it's going for that. But you can do macro photography with the iPhone 13. See, I have a macro lens, I got a Moment lens case for my lens. And I use Moment lenses. I have the telephoto. So with the 3x bump, it's gone from a 2.5 to the 3x. I can just quarter twist my telephoto lens on here and I'll get 6 times optical zoom. I'm not going to need my macro lens, I don't think, anymore. So I'm not sure if the new iPhone, does it look physically the same as this? Will it fit in this case? I'd be very surprised if it did. There's probably some small thing that's changed so they won't quite work. There's the backyard. I can zoom in, zoom out on the good old bird feeder. Not too bad, not too bad. All right, so I just wanted to talk about that. Now, so are you more excited? Who's all getting an iPhone 13? Whether you're getting the Pro or the Pro Max? Who's getting one? I'm getting the Pro Max for sure. I'm getting the 1 terabyte storage option. There's no sense in getting anything less than that. If you plan on shooting with ProRes, it's going to eat it up. 2 or 3 hours of video is going to fill up your storage on your iPhone. I'm surprised that they didn't offer a USB-C port on the high-end iPhone. That would have been great to be able to attach an SSD to that so that you could just offload your ProRes files. I'm going to have to see how much storage space. So they talked about, specifically, they specifically talked about this. ProRes video. They didn't say ProRes. They didn't say ProRes HQ. They didn't say ProRes LT. They said ProRes video. So what I'm wondering about is this version of ProRes specific to the iPhone? If it's not specific to the iPhone, what flavor of ProRes is it? Is it normal ProRes? It's not HQ and it's not 4x4. And I don't think it's LT. It's certainly not going to be proxy. That would be ridiculous. Well, it wouldn't be ridiculous. It would still be better than H.264 and H.265, but I'm wondering if it's going to be a new flavor of ProRes specifically for the iPhone. Don't know for a fact, but it seems like that is a possibility. Eric says, skipping this one, I think, been known to change my mind. Yeah, I get one every year. As long as ProRes recording on a device that is stuck with Lightning connector is arguably pointless. Not pointless. It's not pointless at all. They have HDR, they have 10-bit HDR, they have stuff. It's not pointless. It's just not optimal. You're going to have to media manage. If you shoot on ProRes, you're going to have to media manage more than you do with H.264 and H.265. So I shoot in ProRes, a special event in ProRes, high quality audio, good lighting, filmic stuff. I come home and I empty it, take it off. I use it. What do I use? I use AirDrop, but I use iMazing, IMAZING. It's absolutely hands down the best way to manage media on iPhones that I've found. So you hook it up to your computer. I don't know what the data rate of Lightning is, but you have to empty it off, and then you can delete it within the same app. So it's not pointless. It's not optimal, I'll give you that, but it's certainly not pointless. People are going to be shooting in ProRes. Look, most of the stuff I do doesn't need to be ProRes. Some things are going to be ProRes, and I'm certainly going to experiment with ProRes and see, data size, but I'm getting the 1 terabyte though. I'm getting the 1 terabyte. If I'm going out on a shoot, they have those Lightning they have those Lightning flash drives you can plug in and transfer files over. So you get a 512 version of that, pull the files off, or you got to take a break. That's the problem, and transfer it to your M1X 16-inch MacBook Pro, right? Garrett says, skipping the 13, uploading 1 terabyte for your Lightning would take a while. Next one up for me would be the 14. Let this grow. 14 will have USB-C, I guess. I'm going to get the 14 too, Garrett. I'm going to do the 13 for this year. Next year, I'll get the 14 with USB-C. Since the iPhone is my main camera, and as long as they update the video, something with the video, which they did this time, I will upgrade the iPhone every year. I absolutely will. You get 3% off if you use the Apple Card. So I got 3% off. I put it on a monthly payment plan. The monthly payment plan is $44.90 for 2 years, but probably next year I'll pay it off and then transfer the iPhone 13 as a trade-in on the 14. You'd lose about 50%, but that's okay. It's my main camera. What I'm hoping is, I know the moment lenses that I have will work. Since it's Lightning, my audio connections will work. I have an extensive way to do audio with iPhones because that certainly is a weak point when you're doing audio. What that person says doesn't require any ancillary equipment is complete nonsense. Nobody's going to shoot with the iPhone with the built-in microphones for something important. If I had to do something run and gun, absolutely I could use the iPhone. If I'm in a quiet setting, family setting, sure, you don't need ancillary equipment for that, but to say that you don't need ancillary equipment is ridiculous. So I have 2 different gimbals I use with my iPhone. I have a more basic one, and then I have that big one that I showed you yesterday, a gigantic one. That's what I normally go out with. I keep it on a monopod, so I don't have to hold it because it's very heavy. I mount microphones. I can do lights on there if I want to, but I usually don't have to. And I can do 3 different microphones. Eric says, getting the new watch, regardless of who didn't show up. Oh, how did that get up there? Getting the new watch. Getting the new watch, mine is 4 years old. I got a new watch last year. I had the original Zero watch for all these years, and I got the Apple Watch 6 last year. To be honest with you, I don't use the watch for very much. I use it as a timer, and I get notices and stuff. I'm not an extensive Apple Watch user. My phone is the different story. Phone is with me 24/7. I pull it out to record 4K video most of the time. So one of the things you can record 4K ProRes video, is that right? Is that what it says? I think you can. Let me just check that. Yeah, it's 4K. Let me pull that up. So there's the macro. Let's go over some of this stuff. Camlink 4K. So, oops, yeah, what the heck happened? Pull that up again. $13 Pro. Cinematic mode, recording video, shallow depth of field. It's only 1080p HDR video recording, Dolby Vision up to 4K at 60 frames, 4K video recording at 24, 25, 30, and 60. That's normal. 1080p HD video recording, 25, 30, 60. 720p video recording at 30. Why is 720p restricted to 30? I never use 720p when recording. ProRes recording up to 4K at 30 frames per second, 1080p 30 for the 128 gig version. Dual optical image stabilization for video, telephoto, and wide. Sensor shift optical stabilization for wide. 3 times optical zoom. I don't understand this. 3 times optical zoom in, 2 times optical zoom out. How does that work? Zoom in 3, but you only zoom back out 2? I don't quite understand that, but I guess obviously there's a reason why that happens. Slow motion video, 1080p at 240 frames per second. I use that when I do slow motion. Yeah, I'm disappointed in this not having USB-C, but for the transfer of those big files, but I'm also not disappointed because all my audio is going in via Lightning. Going to get the DJI RS2 from my Canon and Sony cameras, not going to invest in iPhone gimbals. Yeah, my big iPhone gimbal also takes my GH5. It takes Sony cameras, GH5, Panasonic cameras. It does both. Both. So I can do my iPhone and my mirrorless cameras, one gimbal. One gimbal. I also have a lighter weight gimbal. It was $80. $80 is a new one that came out for if I go to the Creative Summit or something. I'm not going to carry this bigger setup around when I'm walking in the lobby. I'm going to carry a small one. I'm on the bus and all. I have a $80 or $90 one for just only for the iPhone. So the big one does all my mirrorless, but it also does the iPhone. I have it rigged up for the iPhone. I showed it yesterday. Watch is also a great remote for the iPhone photo and video apps. Yeah, I have to start using it for that. I've never, that's a good point. So I guess I can do the native camera app, start and stop recording with my iPhone. That's what you're telling me. That's a great use of it. Gerd says, which brand gimbal? I'm going to have to, let me see if I can get that for you. I don't know the name. I always forget the name. I'm terrible with names. Here, let's look at this real quick. Downloads. Where is that? Here it is. Let me just pull this up real quick. So let me pull it up. I don't know, to be absolutely honest with you, which Web page video. Let me pull this up right here and we'll scrub through and see if I can find it. So here is, I pulled this up yesterday. It's a giant, it's a monster. Look at this thing. What this does, what rig did I have set up? It's a, get what kind it is. I can't remember the brand names. But I have it set up. I can shoot with 3 separate microphones. I have a Sennheiser MKE 600 for front-facing talent. I have a Rode Wireless Go 2. I have a lapel for me, and I have a front-facing version of that. I have a small mixer on this thing. So I have a hardware volume controls for it. And I go in via, so that's the one that I use now. So I have a small rig cage for the iPhone, but it also takes my GH5 and any other similar size camera right on it. I don't need a separate one, spending, a lot of money on a separate one. Xeon, is that what it's called? Xeon? I think that's what it's called. That was from yesterday. I pulled that out for everybody. I'm going to do a special video on how I set that up because there's a lot of tricks and things to it and counterbalances and all that, but it handles, of course it handles the iPhone. The iPhone's actually too light for it. I have to add counterweight. I got a metal cage to add weight and I had to add counterweight. But I also have, that's too big to be carrying through a lobby like at the Creative Summit. So I have a small little gimbal, folds up. This gimbal has a light on it that you can reverse back and forth. I really like it. I think it's this, let me just pull that up. I think it's the, oh, that's also a Xeon. That's also a Xeon. So here, this is the one I have for my, just for my iPhone, the Smooth Q3. It's a fantastic lightweight gimbal. And if you notice up here, it's easy to balance. I can hook up basic things to it. I did destroy the bottom port, the quarter thread. I had to redo that. I glued something on there and put something back on. It's very easy to do. It's got a light. You can turn this light around for face you or face the talent. It's like $90 on Amazon. So I did get that for just when I'm doing, there you go, there's the light. It's very, very nice, lightweight gimbal, has all the features, but it's like $90. $90. Gert says, nice one. Thank you for pulling up that footage. No problem. That was from yesterday. So both of mine are Xeon. I didn't like my Osmo. I had the Mobile 3. Didn't like it. It was constantly disconnecting, the Bluetooth disconnecting. So you're going along and the camera goes bloop. When you're filming, it just drops because something happens to the Bluetooth connection. It happened over and over and all the time. So I sold that locally, and I bought this new one. I'm not getting the Osmo Mobile 5 either. That's $160. This one was $90. But like I said, if I'm walking through the lobby, I don't want a big rig with me, a bigger rig. Now, I do keep it on a monopod, both of them sometimes. I do keep it on a monopod, so I don't have to hold it the whole time, but depends on what I'm doing. I have two different setups. So what do you think? Who's getting a 13 Pro or 13 Pro Max? I'm getting the Pro Max. And I'm going to be, if I can get somebody to wake me up at 8 o'clock Eastern this Friday morning, you can order starting 5 a.m. Pacific, which is 8 a.m. Eastern. Is that right? Yeah, they're behind, yeah. 8 a.m. Eastern, so I'll be getting ready to order. I've already pre-ordered, like I said. and I got the 13 Pro Max 1 terabyte gray. We'll see how much. You know what? I'll do some tests. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some tests of transferring data from my iPhone, my current iPhone. I don't know what the data rate is for Lightning. I have no idea what it is. It doesn't seem to be that much of a problem. The problem is Final Cut Pro in transferring data from my iPhone. It's been a problem since day one. It crashes. Sometimes you'll import the video and it will get corrupted. Final Cut Pro corrupts it. It plays fine in the Finder, but it won't play in Final Cut. That's a problem, but hopefully maybe that'll get updated with Final Cut Pro 10.6. So, let's do this. Let me just pull this up. This is interesting. This is the Apple announcement. Apple unveils 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, more Pro than ever before. This is the specs for it. First time ProRes, only available on iPhone. So I got the 1 terabyte. Those are nice colors. That blue is very tempting, isn't it? Beautiful. But I'm going to get the gray. I'm going to get the dark gray. I'd get black if they had black. So I'll get it a week from Friday. I should get it a week from Friday. I want to check on something. Look at those cameras sticking out. They are really sticking out. Let me just do something here. So there it is. Coming soon to iMovie, macOS, and Final Cut Pro. So once again, Apple has pre-announced. It's not that we didn't know it, but they pre-announced a new version of Final Cut Pro is coming probably this fall, at any time actually. But they pre-announced a new version of Final Cut Pro. So not a surprise, not a surprise. The question is it going to be 10.6 with a lot of new features? Not like 10.5 that had this many features, but 10.6 like a normal full point update? Or is it going to be 10.5 point something that's going to have fewer features, but it's going to have the ability to edit that iPhone footage in post? So we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, the next Apple event, I'm going to say probably October, maybe one more Apple event this year. Last year they had 3. Some people didn't realize that. They had 3 Apple events last year. They had September, then they had October, which was the iPhone, and then November, which was the M1 Max. This year, I'm going to say October for the M1X 16-inch MacBook Pro, and if it's not out before then, I'm going to say a new version of Final Cut. I'm still saying that, so what do you think? What do you think? We're going to see a new version of Final Cut this fall? I think so. They pre-announced one like they did before. We'll see what it is. Cinematic, there's cinematic. You can manually adjust in post, or you can, I think it does it automatically. Games, I had never played a game. On a Mac. Eric says, got my Summit VIP pass. 2 months away. Excellent. Good deal. Summit's coming in 2 months, October, November. Yes, coming in 2 months, and that's going to be the FCP Creative Summit. We will be talking more about that coming up. We're going to have some people from FMC probably on to talk about what's going on there. And that'll be coming up in a future one of FCP TV Lives. So don't forget, go over there, subscribe, Richard Taylor TV. We will, let me pull this up. Over there at YouTube, Richard Taylor TV. Now, Eric says probably a new version of Final Cut Pro this fall. Be prepared to be underwhelmed. At some point, we're going to have to be overwhelmed, right? I mean, yeah, they do a small update. Of course, they can do 5.5, 5.6, whatever the heck. But 10.6 has got to be massive. 10.5 was this big for most Final Cut Pro users. I don't care how much work went into that. People say, oh, you don't realize how much work went into it. A lot of work does not necessarily make a good update. Just because there's a lot of work, if people spin their wheels, it takes a lot of work. A lot of work does not equate to a big, good update. It can, but a lot of work by itself, in and of itself, does not mean a good update. Yeah, they had to make it for the M1 Max. How many people last year in November were using M1 Max? Final Cut Pro people. This many. So the update was for this many people. The vast majority of people, the Intel people that are on Intels, didn't affect them. It was a puny update. So 10.6 is the real update from 10.4. All righty, I'm going to head out of here. Anybody want to make any other comment? Before I go, I will head out and I'll be talking more about the iPhone 13. I'll be getting one a week from Friday probably. So once I get it, I'll do some testing and stuff about the ProRes. But I'm going to probably do another, see how fast data is on Lightning, because I just don't know. All right, everyone. My name's Richard Taylor. As you know, follow me on YouTube. I'm also on Twitch TV and still on Periscope. I don't know why I'm still on Periscope, but it is YouTube, Facebook, Richard Taylor TV.